everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the channel and welcome to Pisces season. I want to talk a little bit about Pisces. Pisces season hit us a couple of days ago. So, for all of you Pisceans out there, happy birthday. Uh, Pisces is, I love Pisces actually. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. There are infinite possibilities when talking about Pisces and the planet of Neptune. Uh, this Pisces season, um, Neptune is in Pisces. It has been in Pisces, but Jupiter is also in Pisces as well. So that can just expand on that Piscean energy and Neptunian energy. Pisces and Neptune rule the 12th house in the zodiac, which is the house of what is hidden, what we sense and feel, but we don't see. So, our intuition and our dreams. It is the collective unconscious. It can be deceit, putting our heads in the sand or in the proverbial water and not being able to see. So, it can cause illusions, collective unconscious illusions. With Jupiter in there, that can blow it up. You know, Neptune and Pisces also rule things like health, things that we can't see, so disease that spreads. And, I won't talk too much about that, but with Jupiter in there, that can increase that possibility. But I don't really want to talk about those kind of things. I just want to explain the vast things that Neptune and Pisces can represent. It does represent a higher level of spirituality. Pisces is very psychic. It's a water sign. The fish tied together, going in two different directions, is the symbol for Pisces, and that's very interesting because when you think about fish, fish swim in schools. They either swim in schools so they can protect themselves from predators, or it's called scoling, so they can scoll sort of out of the school, and to eat or to just sort of dip out and check things out. So they kind of go into these little communities, and then eventually come back into the school where when they're trying to get somewhere as a group. So that's kind of interesting because the fish, how do the fish know to stay in the school? Well, it's sight, right? But it's not sight in the way that we think about it. It's sight in the way of sensing where they're supposed to be, what's going on around them, sensing danger, sensing what direction to go. And that is really very, it's a very good definition of what Pisces and Neptune means for us. And of course, that depends on where it's placed in our chart, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But collectively, right now, with Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces, we could we could see collective confusion. We could see the collective looking for their place in the world. The fish that's looking for the school that they belong in. They're sculling, looking for where they belong. And I see a lot of that in a lot of the readings that I do. And I've mentioned this before. People are looking to find their path to spirituality, their own personal path. There's some confusion in the collective in general as far as where they belong and what they believe in, and they're looking for guidance on how to find the path that they're supposed to go down. And that's not unusual for Pisces either, because Pisces can create confusion, and depending on the area in your chart that Neptune sits, or that Pisces is, and of course it depends on what you have in there and what's aspecting what, but it could really send you a lot of intuitive messages, a little bit of intuitive, uh, you know, uncomfortable kind of feelings, enough to sort of make you feel like you need to be going in a different direction, but you're not really sure where. And so in the collective, I think we see a lot of people trying to find out where they belong. They're searching for answers, they're looking for something that's going to elevate them above and out of where they have been. Again, more confusion. A lot of folks out there, including myself, we talk about the importance of paying attention to your own intuition, fine tuning that. There are lots of ways that people do that. It can be meditation, it can be past life regression, it can be, looking at your astrology, it can be tapping into your psychic and intuitive abilities. It can be just tapping into your creativity. Everybody has a different way of calming themselves enough and getting quiet enough, like fish are quiet enough so that they can see their way through. Waters are murky and we can't see with our eyes um, clearly all of the time. So, in a collective sense, I think that we are looking for what group we belong in. But, first we need to figure out where our heart is, what it is that we believe. And, when Jupiter was in Aquarius, affecting the collective and expanding the collective consciousness, I think we did a lot of that. People spoke out and investigated things and paid attention to what was going on in the community. We're really looking or seeing clearly. Jupiter was showing very clearly what a lot of things in the collective and in society meant to us individually. And now it's moved into Pisces, and it's like, okay, it's time to expand that. It's a very auspicious sign, and especially with Jupiter traveling into Pisces now, it can be a very auspicious time. We could see, and I hope that we see an expansion of our collective spirituality, an expansion of really coming back to ourselves and being true to ourselves and paying attention to what it is that we're hearing and sensing, and being very quiet and careful about who we associate with and which direction that we go. It's completely okay to sort of go off and away from everybody else, and dip your toe in and pay very close attention to how that feels when it's coming into your physical area, when it's coming into your mind, when it's coming into your dreams. Pay attention to how clear you can see without opening your eyes, and how profoundly you can feel things without reaching out and touching it. And that's Pisces and Neptune and Pisces. I think, in the society, in the world, we could see some things get bigger. Jupiter also rules the law, so we could see some things that have been going on behind the scenes that we weren't aware of be expanded by Jupiter and brought into our consciousness in some way, or we might just intuitively be able to feel, depending on what type of intuition we tap into personally, intuitively feel that things are coming, that there are things that we need to know. uh, there could be a lot of interesting things that happen, but I think overall, those of us that are searching and practicing our spirituality and paying attention to our intuition and trying to create our higher level of creative expression for ourselves, are looking to see an expansion of that. And there are lots of groups formed and lots of good content out there helping us, you know, figure out how to tap into our own intuition. I think because of the level of confusion that Neptune and Pisces can create, we have to use discernment. And that discernment comes back to what feels right for us, like I was saying. So we could have some, along with the collective confusion, we could have some illusions and lies and deceits, and need to be very careful who we believe and who we associate with. We have time to do that. Pisces in general is very comfortable being alone with their own thoughts, and tapping into their intuition, and paying attention to their dreams. In fact, a lot of very strong Pisces placements, folks with strong Pisces placements, are probably just wanting to stay out of the fray, from everything else that's going on these days, and really just, stick to themselves. And that may be what they are supposed to do. It all depends on our placements. There are a whole lot of things that determine how we tap into our own personal Pisces energy, and we all have access to that. So this month is a month to get quiet and pay attention to what's going on in our subconscious. Let our intuition guide us into the direction that we know intuitively that we're supposed to be going, and then allow Jupiter to expand that. Me personally, I like to stay out of the fray. I have, I don't have any Pisces placements. Well, I do actually. I have, see, I have Saturn and I have Chiron and Pisces in the 10th house, but I have a lot of Gemini placements, and they're all in the 12th house. And if you have 12th house placements, that gives that sign's energy a very Piscean flavor. And because Pisces and Neptune rule the 12th house, if you have 12th house placements, you have a very strong connection to your intuition. It's just a matter of how it comes to you. For me, being a Gemini, it comes in the form of thought, getting quiet, being alone, thinking to myself, trying to sort things out. And sometimes I can do a little bit too much of that, but that's what works for me. And something else might work for you. When I do readings lately, like I said, there are a lot of folks that are searching for something bigger, something more meaningful, which is good. I think that's what these current Pisces placements are encouraging us to do. But they don't always know how to tap into that, and that's largely dependent on the type of energy that's coming in from your 12th house, if you have 12th house placements. And I have met a lot of people with 12th house placements, and that just may be serendipitous because they come to me and have 12th house placements, sort of drawn to one another. That's a Pisces thing. The cord is attached and they go apart, they come back together. And I firmly believe that like people will come together, or people that need each other will come together. And that's what all of this is about, and collectively is coming together so that we can do something very healing, which Neptune also represents healing on a spiritual level. And Neptune also represents unconditional love. So it's the higher octave of Venus. So and when we think about that, it's just a higher octave of Venus, but it can also be, again, confusing, and kind of maybe show us, we see something, but maybe it's not really what it is. So again, tapping into your intuition and following your own path, your own soul's path, again, and your own soul's karma, which is representative of the 12th house and Neptune and Pisces, will lead you to where it is that you need to be and how you need to tap into that. I love Pisces energy, and this is why, because it's vast and there are limited possibilities. And yes, it puts us in a muddle of confusion and discovery, but how else do we find ourselves? And people are doing that. It's very encouraging to see people doing that. My only advice would be discernment. Be discerning. Pay attention to what you feel like inside. When you're exploring opportunities or looking for where it is that you belong, which school of fish you belong in. Pisces and Neptune and the 12th house, all connected. Also, how could that affect, could affect the collective? Like I mentioned, it affects us personally, where our placements are and the energy that's combined. it affects our relationships, and relationships are very interesting right now. There's a lot of concern, and I've met a lot of people that are concerned about relationships. That happens in astrology. A lot of people come and want relationship readings, and I talk to a lot of to people that actually work on specifically with relationships and how they work. And I found that, at least for me, I've had people ask me, well, when we talk about soulmates, because I think we can dovetail that into this Neptune and this Pisces conversation. We talk about soulmates or high level connections, divine connections. Some people call them twin flames. Are there markers for that? And I've read a lot about it, and I've looked at a lot of charts, and I'm asked those things all the time. Well, tell me what to look for. And what I find is that they're all different. There can be Saturnian relationships where you've come together to learn specific lessons. Will you stay together? Maybe. Will you not? Maybe not. But Saturn, is very karmic, and there are a lot of lessons to be learned in a relationship that shows a lot of Saturnian energy. I've seen a lot of Pluto energy, and Pluto is very powerful. I've talked about Pluto before on the channel, and Pluto is the planet that wants to change things dramatically, wants to create transformation. It wants to bring things out from under the surface, things that are deeply painful, and transform them. And people can do that for one another because there is an obsessive draw, and then you're in it and you just keep moving. So there are Plutonian relationships. But what I have seen a lot are Neptunian relationships. That there is a very significant Neptunian connection in a lot of the relationships that folks are in that have caused confusion um, in these types of relationships. I can see it in the charts. And, again, when you go back to Pisces, Neptune, and you think about that as it relates to a relationship like I'm talking about, you've got two fish going in different directions at times with a cord attached. They go away and they come back because that string pulls them back. I find it very interesting that I've seen a lot of and consulted a lot for folks, and I see strong Neptunian connections. Sometimes along with Plutonian connections, sometimes along with Saturnian connections, sometimes all of the above and even more. And they're very interesting, and I think they're designed to help elevate both people, but individually as they come apart and then come back together, individually, and then come back and work together. And it's sort of a dance. It's a dance, at least in these Neptunian connections that I see. It's a dance between fishes. The fish, they dance and they come back, and they dance and they come back. They can be incredibly creative and intuitive and healing. Again, Neptune and healing. A lot of folks, look when they read charts like this, they look at certain indicators, and I think that it's true that these particular planets and energies are important to look at when looking at relationships, like Venus and Mars. Obviously, how are things playing out in the physical world? Neptune and Jupiter, the higher masculine and feminine energies of Mars and Venus. And where those are positioned, and the energies that they're connected to, the areas of life they're affecting or bouncing off one another, are very important too. But I find that the outer planets that I mentioned, Saturn, Pluto, and definitely Neptune have a very strong presence, and I've been studying this and will continue to study it, and hopefully be able to help more people understand these types of connections. They're very interesting, and like I said, they're very healing, and I think they're very purposeful. So in this month of Pisces, coming into Pisces, it's interesting. I think that relationships have been impacted for a while, and now that you have Jupiter coming in with Neptune in Pisces and in Pisces season, where Mars and Venus are doing this dance all month in Pisces season, uh, back and forth, that there could be a connection there. And the fact that Mars and Venus is in Capricorn and has been, and I've talked about this before, which is creating stability. You know, Venus wants to receive, Venus wants things to be nice, and that represents a lot of things. It doesn't have to be a relationship, but I'm talking about that for the purpose of this video. And Mars wants to take action. Mars wants to take. So the fact that they're traveling together is an opportunity to balance that out in Capricorn energy, which is Saturn, which is stable. And now we have this Neptunian energy this month in Pisces, and the dance is still continuing between Mars and Venus, Jupiter and Neptune, the higher octave of those. I think it's going to be interesting. I think if you have a relationship that you're trying to unpack or understand, it could be a very interesting time, depending on the placements and the connections in the next month and beyond, but definitely could intensify. I'm not looking at a chart right now, but there's a Uranus effect in there too. So that could cause breakthroughs or changes suddenly. And I'm watching it very closely. So I love Pisces season. I have a lot of Piscean energy. Just in terms of finding out where Pisces sits in your chart, that can help you do a couple things. It can help you identify what area of life might be confusing to you, what area of life you might be able to offer the most healing to other people, and that would be offered to you, how the planets transit around and affect and set off that Pisces energy for you, what it already aspects in your chart, what areas will you focus on, or will you have a focus in that area in any given year based on your solar return, which it's a chart of where planets sit, and you look at specific planets on the day of your birthday. That will give you an idea of what you're focusing on for the next year. There's also a progressed chart that you can look at that kind of shows the evolution of your soul, and how to mark out how that energy will fit in to the current daily transits and your yearly solar return, or anything else that you want to look at. Astrology is vast and super interesting, and it is a guide to help you find your spirituality, like a lot of people are telling me they're looking for. Find their life purpose. A lot of people are telling me that they're looking for that. We're searching right now. We're searching for the best and highest for all of us, and it's going to be different. Some of us will find it in work. Some of us will find it in a relationship. Some of us will find it in expressing our creativity, whatever that is. The idea is that wherever we are pushed, we're creating all of those things for ourselves, of course. But when we're just talking about the Pisces energy, there may be an emphasis for us on that, and it may not be entirely noticeable in your chart. Like I said, you could have, like myself, a lot of 12th house placements. For me, it's in Gemini, which is Mercury. It's all about the mind and logic, but it sits in the house of Pisces. And if I didn't understand astrology, I would be like, oh, I'm not Pisces. I don't have any Pisces energy. It doesn't affect me. Well, first of all, every sign affects all of us. We experience it in a specific area of life, and we can find that in our charts. But for me, that is where I have a heavy Piscean emphasis is in the 12th house, the house of my intuition and my dreams and my confusion. That's the house where I have to go and sort of unpack things. I like the fact that I have it in Gemini. Again, I said before, it does, I have to look at it and think about it logically and make sure I don't get stuck there. So that's an emphasis for me in my chart, but also where Neptune sits in my chart, which for me is in the fifth house, and that is creativity, and it's also romance, and it's my children, and is your Neptune or any of your planets that are affecting the Neptunian areas, Pisces areas, in your chart, are they retrograde? What are they connected to? It tells a story and it is a guide for us to follow. So yeah, it's an interesting journey. There are tools out there, information, things to read. There are all different ways that we can find what it is that we're really supposed to be doing. That is true to our heart, and that will ultimately, um, if we're happy, if the collective as a whole is happy, fulfilled and satisfied, if they're on a journey, because it's a constant journey, there's a level of fulfillment and happiness, and then that trickles out in the community, I believe, and then overall we feel a little more calmer in society, in the collective. What does mass confusion create? What does calm and centeredness create? So it's a huge polarity, and we could see those polarities play out. We have seen them play out. So, love Pisces energy. I've said that 3 times, and I could say it again. I absolutely love it. If you're interested in taking a look at where your Pisces energy sits and what your chart says about where you should go to tap into your intuition, what area of life is most confusing. Take a look at how your Pisces energy interacts with somebody else's in a relationship chart. I'd love to help you. Get a hold of me at Gemini Fire 65 at msn.com. I would love to read for you. And if you have any questions, drop them in the box below. I'd love to answer them. I almost did this live. And I may start doing some things live because I really like the interaction and, questions and answers, and to be able to reach out, and even though it's virtual, actually connect with people. So I'm going to be working on some of those things. Look for the horoscopes coming up for Pisces season. I'm going to be working on those. And again, we're working on more segments to the series of the U.S. Pluto return. There are some other things coming up that I really want to talk about. Yeah. So again, if you would like a personal reading, I'd love to work with you. And in the meantime, may the stars forever be in your favor. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you next time.